Windows architecture, Unix architecture. Where we use Windows, where we use Unix or Linux. Generally, in the real time, Windows we always use as front end. Unix or Linux we always use as back end. What is the difference between front end and back end? Front end means we are able to see that. A laptop is a front end. You have physical access. Your desktop, laptops, all are front end. Back end. Back end means which we are not able to see. You don't have physical access. That is called back end. If you log in as an ATM user, we're able to see that ATM machine where Windows is installed. That is called as a front end. A login as ATM user, we can see how much amount we have. We are trying the amount. Where this data is, database server. Where the database installed on Unix server. Do you know where the database? We don't know. That is called backend. Because the database production will always preferred on Unix or Linux. That's why Linux servers always backend. Windows always frontend. You go to eServer counter, MeServer counter, they will see all the laptops are Windows. Railway reservations, airlines reservations, bus reservations. Wherever we go, our physical access only Windows. We don't know where the servers are. That is called front end and back end. Why we prefer database always or Unix or Linux? Why not Windows? The problem with the Windows is Windows has a virus. Unix or Linux, no virus. Windows has a downtime. Unix or Linux, no downtime. No downtime means zero downtime. We never shut down Unix servers in the real time. These servers will keep on up and running for more than 2, 3, 4 years without having any problem in the OS and database. If it is Microsoft, for every 3 months we have to reboot the server. Or if you are a Windows administrator, if you found some issue on the server, we are trying to resolve that issue, but we are not able to resolve. When we escalate that issue to the senior administrator, they'll ask to reboot the system. If you reboot the Windows server, all the problems will be resolved. The final solution is reboot the server. What is the problem if I reboot my database server, application server? Downtime to the application. Why? Because the database production servers, when I reboot it, it will take 4 hours, 5 hours to up the system. So 4 to 5 hours downtime to the application. 4 to 5 hours downtime to the end user. No one can access the ATM card. No one can do the money transaction online. No one can access gmail.com, yahoo.com. That is called as a downtime. But Unix or Linux servers, we never shut down, we never reboot. Because of no virus, because of no downtime. The database, application, web service, mail service we always preferred on Linux. Yesterday I told you, why not Solaris, why not Hibernate, why not AX, why Linux, we discussed yesterday class. Because Linux is hardware independent. And the main advantage of Linux is open source code. So what is this open source code? Before that, now we'll see the difference between Windows and Linux. Yesterday we discussed the difference between Windows and Unix. Windows and Unix. Now we'll see the difference between Windows and Linux. Why I have to use Linux? Why not Windows? Basically, Windows is the licensed software. Windows is the licensed software. Linux, no license is required. It's a freeware. Windows need a specific hardware. To install Windows, we require a specific hardware. Means what? At least minimum 1 GB RAM, 10 GB storage. For Linux, we don't require any specific hardware. I can install Linux with 1 MB RAM. I can install Linux with 1 MB RAM and storage 1.44 MB storage. We don't require more than 1.44 MB. When I started my career as a Unix administrator, at that time the hard disk was very expensive. Even 1 GB hard disk cost 1.5 lakhs. So we used to carry the floppies. The floppy capacity is 1.44 MB. We can copy the Linux kernel in the floppy. We can carry the floppy. That is the advantage of Linux. Now, Linux has either two types of operating systems. One is called freeware. The other one we call Red Hat distribution software. Red Hat distribution software. It is not a freeware. This is licensed software. These are licensed software. The freeware versions are 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Latest and current is 18.0. The freeware versions are 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Latest and current is 8.0. You can ask why there is a difference. Because the freeware version they release for every 6 months. For every 6 months. The licensed software not for every 6 months, for every 2.5 years. Not for every 6 months, for every 2.5 years. When this software is available free of cost, why should I purchase licensed software? When this software is available free of cost, why should I purchase licensed software which is expensive for organization? For this question, generally, where we use Windows, where we use Unix. Can anyone tell where we use Microsoft family, where we use Unix family? Why we prefer laptop always with Windows operating system? Why we prefer laptop desktops always with Windows operating system? Why not Linux? Why Windows? Why not Linux? Because Windows is the Windows only for entertainment, playing the games, watching the movies, browsing the internet. But Unix or Linux not for entertainment, only for databases. So the database I can install on freeware, but if I install database on freeware, no support from Red Hat because the database server, production server, application server need a support. That's why we have to purchase this license software. So in the companies, we always use this license software. But here we are using freeware, no license. Because we are not installing any database server, We don't require any support from Red Hat. If you want support, you have to go for license. Why it is called Red Hat distribution software? In Linux, there are so many flavors. Yesterday we discussed Unix flavors, which are Linux flavors. Red Hat, CentOS, Ubuntu, Fedora, SUSE Linux, Debian Linux, Whitebox Linux, Puppy Linux, Kali Linux, T-Sequence Linux, Oracle Linux. There are so many distributions. Nearly we have 300 distributions out there. Amazon Linux, Oracle Linux, Red Hat Linux, Puppy Linux, Kali Linux. Kali Linux is mainly used for networking. Kali Linux is more popular for networking. It is only for this Kali Linux designed only for ethical hacking. Ubuntu is designed, developed for testing or workstation. You can also use it as a server, but that Ubuntu is designed only for testing and workstation. CentOS is operating system designed only for development. It is only for development. Red Hat, as I told you, that license software used for database server, application server, production server, which required license for. All this comes under flavors of Linux. Linux comes under flavor of Unix. Yesterday we discussed that how to identify what flavor of Unix it is. Now this is the Unix server. So this is the Linux Unix server. I don't know, is it Linux or Solaris or AX or HP? What is the command we discussed yesterday? Run uname -s. What is showing? It's a Linux. Uname -s to know what Unix family it is. Is it a Linux or Solaris or HP Unix or IBM AX? But I want to know the flavor of Linux. Run the command /it/. What is showing? It's a CentOS. So why I install CentOS in my laptop? Because I'm going to take the DevOps classes also. So DevOps requires CentOS because CentOS is the free. The same DevOps tools, if at all I want to configure Red Hat, I need to purchase license software. So CentOS only for development. So these are the tools which is free of cost. So there is a difference between Unix and Linux. Basically, the codes are two types. One is called binary code. The other one we call source code. binary code and source code. What is the difference between the binary code and source code? Binary code means 0 and 1s, machine language. Binary code machine language, you can't able to understand. Source code is user understandable. Source code is user understandable. The advantage of Linux is the source code is available to the end user. You take Windows. Who is the proprietor for Windows? Microsoft. Who is the proprietor for Solaris? Sun Microsystems. Who is the proprietor for HP Unix? Hewlett-Packard. All these are proprietary operating systems. They never give the source code to the end user. If the source code is available for Microsoft, so free of cost, anyone can develop Windows. That's why these are all proprietary operating systems. They never give the source code. But Linux, no proprietary. For Linux, no proprietary. Source code is available. You are technically sound. You know shell programming, device driver programming, kernel programming, network programming. You are technically sound. Download the source code from internet. Download the source code from internet. We can develop your own Linux operating system. We can redistribute it. That's why all these are called distributors. Amazon developed their own Linux operating system. They named as a Amazon Linux. Oracle developed their own Linux operating system. They named as a Oracle Linux. That is the advantage of open source code. So finally, Red Hat is a company developed two softwares. One is called RHEL. The other one we call CentOS. RHEL stands Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which is licensed software. RHEL is the license software. CentOS stands Community Enterprise Operating System. Community Enterprise Operating System. Community software is always free of cost. Java community, .NET community, Python community. That is the difference between RHEL and CentOS. Both are product of Red Hat. Earlier it was Red Hat, 5-6 years back. Now it is IBM. IBM take over Red Hat. Now it is IBM Linux. So in your course curriculum, we are going to discuss Red Hat, CentOS, and Ubuntu. Any questions? So what are the topics which are going to cover? Installations. There are so many types of installations. Nearly we have 4 to 5 types of installation. So tomorrow we'll see the installation part, how to install the OS. So there are 4 to 5 types of installation. One is CLI, command line without LVM, command line with LVM. Graphical mode installation with LVM, without LVM. LVM stands Logical Volume Manager. If you are a cloud admin, Azure admin, or AWS cloud admin, you don't need to understand the installation part because all the servers are pre-installed. But as an Linux administrator, you need to understand the installation part. What are the types of installation? When we go for with LVM, when we go for without LVM, when we have to install CLI mode, when you have to install the graphical user interface, all this stuff required for Linux administrator. Then we have disk management. Like in Microsoft, we have a drives. At the time of installation, if you have 500 GB, during installation, either Windows or Linux, there are 2 types of layouts. One is auto layout, the other one is custom layout. Either Windows family or Unix family. While installation, there are 2 types of layout, auto layout and custom layout, where auto layout is the default. Auto layout is the default. The advantage of auto layout, anyone can install the OS. We don't need to have expertise on that. Anyone can install. Just next, finish. That is called auto layout. But the disadvantage is, if you have 500 GB hard disk, entire 500 GB, it is going to allocate for C drive. The whole disk allocate for C drive. You have 1 TB hard disk, the whole 1 TB allocate for C drive. That is a disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? What is the problem if you allocate the entire disk for C drive? Anyone?
You cannot partition the data for different applications. So if OS corrupts everything.
Yeah, if you keep everything under C drive, the operating system is corrupted. Whatever data under C drive, the whole data will be lost. That decrease the system booting performance. What is the booting process? How system will boot? What are the boot phases? We'll discuss later. We have separate topic on that. That is the main problem with auto layout. So auto layout only for the freshers. Either Windows or Linux, the default layout is auto layout. It's only for freshers. But being expertise, we have to go for custom layout. In custom layout, we can define the partition size. We can define the drives, what drives you want, how much size you want, how many drives you want. That is advantage of custom layout. Custom layout only for experts. So when you install the Linux with custom layout, we have a free space. How the free space we can use later after installation, that is called as a disk management. It is not like Microsoft right click on the drive, create the drive, right click on the drive, format the drive. It is not like Microsoft, which is user friendly. Everything is a command line. You need to understand what commands you have to use to create the file system. Windows we call it a drive, Unix we call it a file system. So you need to understand how to create the file system, how to format the file system, how to mount the file system. All this stuff we'll discuss in the disk management. And what are the problems we are going to, what are the problems we'll encounter in the disk management? That also we discuss theoretically, practically. Troubleshooting is very, very important. Understand the subject. It is not a matter. Anyone can learn from the YouTube. but troubleshooting is very, very important. If you're going with 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus experience, they last only the troubleshooting part. What type of problems you face in the real time. So this type of troubleshooting we are going to discuss in every topic. And we have user administration. So by learning any kind of administration courses like a Hadoop or SAP HANA, SAP Basis or Oracle database, any databases or any OS administration, user admin is the main topic. So users are the securities, username passwords are the securities. So how to create the users? Suppose you want to access gmail.com. What do you require? You need authentication, login name and password. You want to access your ATM card, we need a PIN number. So how to create these users, how to create the groups, how to monitor the users. In the real time, monitoring is very, very important. When we joined as a fresher, 0 to 2 years experience, your role is only L1. L1 stands level 1. Your job is only monitoring. So how to monitor the users, what time they logged in, what time they logged out, what command they executed. All this stuff we'll discuss in the user administration. Run levels. Run levels are different types of modes in Microsoft. What are the different types of modes in Windows? We have command mode, networking mode, normal mode, safe mode. Similarly, we have run levels. So the default run level in Linux is run level 5 or run level 3. How to check it? Who minus R. This is called run level 3. Run level 3 is a CLI, command line interface. Run level 5 is a graphical mode. Both are multi-user mode. So what are the types of run levels? Where we use run level 1, what is the maintenance mode? Where we use maintenance mode, what type of problems will encounter run levels, how to troubleshoot it. When system is always rebooting, what's the problem, how to troubleshoot it. When system always shutting down, how to troubleshoot it. When bootloader is corrupted, how to reload the bootloader. When the administrator password is forget, if you forget the admin password. If it is Windows, if you forget administrator password, it is very tough job to break the password. We have to download some third-party software from internet. It is not that much easy to break the password in Microsoft. Whereas Linux, we can break the password. We don't require any third-party software. Why do you want to break the password? When you forget the admin password. All this troubleshooting stuff we'll discuss in the run levels. LVM. LVM stands Logical Volume Manager. LVM stands Logical Volume Manager. What is volume manager? What we can do with the volume manager? Generally, if it is Microsoft, you have a D drive. You have a D drive. The D drive is 100% full, no free space. When the drive is 100% full, is it possible to increase the drive size without loss of data? Assume that your laptop, your drive is full, D drive is full. Is it possible to increase the drive size without loss of data? Anyone? It's possible. How it is possible? Take the drive backup. The backup device can be a pen drive, USB drive, pen drive. or USB drive. The backup device can be a tape drive. The real time will always use the tape drives. So because the pen drives, USB drives, we can't store terabytes of data. The real time will always use tape drives where we can store the terabytes of data. So we'll take the backup to the tape, increase the drive size, format it, then register from the tape. Is it online or offline? This is called offline. What is the meaning of offline? No one should log into my server while taking the backup. While taking the drive backup, no one should log into my server. I cannot take this backup in multi-user mode. The meaning of multi-user mode, anyone can log into my server. When the server in multi-user mode, anyone can log into your server. In Windows, there is a mode called safe mode. Even sometimes mobile goes to safe mode. When you reboot the mobile, there is an option called safe mode. What is the purpose of safe mode? In safe mode, you won't get any call from outside. You cannot make any call to anyone because a mobile in the safe mode. What is the advantage of safe mode? No one can log into your server. No one can log into your server, so that I can take complete drive backup. Complete drive backup, increase the drive size, format it, then register from the tape. So we cannot do this in online because in multi-user mode, logins are active while taking the backup. They're making some changes in the file system. Somebody deposit the amount, somebody trying the amount. You cannot take complete backup. It is not recommended to take the backup in multi-user mode. We have to bring the server to the safe mode. Windows we call as a safe mode. Unix we call as a single user mode. Unix we call as a single user mode. So what is the problem here? If the drive is terabyte more than terabyte size, it will take 10 hours, more than 10 hours to take the backup. So 10 to 15 hours downtime to my application, 10 to 15 hours downtime to my end user. That's why we have a concept called LVM, Logical Volume Manager. With the help of LVM, without disturbing user activities, without loss of data, without taking the backup, I can increase my drive size dynamically online. What do you call this? Dynamically online. The meaning of dynamically, when logins are active. So there is no database production service without this volume manager LVM. If you log into the AWS cloud, Azure cloud, and we launch a Linux server in the AWS, the server comes by default with LVM. LVM we can configure during installation. LVM can be configured later after installation. All this stuff we'll discuss in LVM. So basically, all of you people use a mobile. What application are you using mobile? What is the OS you are using mobile? Android, right? Android or iOS. What is the long form of iOS? Hmm? Anyone? What is the long form of iOS? iPhone operating system. iPhone, they have their own OS. So Android, what is Android? It's nothing but operating system. You want to see what Android it is. Android, they're using a kernel called Linux kernel. Android, they're using kernel called Linux kernel. They named as Android. But what kernel they're using? They're using Linux. You want to check it, you go to about phone. If you have a phone, you go to about phone. There we can see the kernel version. Check the kernel version. I am checking my kernel version. If you have mobile, please check the kernel version and tell me what the kernel version is. Go to about phone. Go to about phone software version. Here my kernel version is 4.14. 4.14.117. Some mobile having like 10 points something. So what kernel they're using? Linux kernel. How to check it? Uname -r. So 3.10.0. This is the kernel version. My mobile is 4.10, means upgrade of 3.10, upgrade version. So they named as Android, but what kernel they're using? Linux kernel. That is the advantage of open source code. Today, if I develop a hardware, I want to use that hardware. I need a driver. I'm a technically sound. I can write the driver if it is Microsoft, but Microsoft, they never give the source code. In that case, you can take the source code from, you can download the source code from internet. You can write the driver for the hardware. You can use the hardware. That is the advantage of open source code. So this is the concept of LVM, Logical Volume Manager. Then we are going to discuss about RPM, Red Hat Package Manager. It is very, very important for developers. Important for developers. Not only for developers, for Linux administrator, DevOps, engineer, cloud admin, who are working on Linux platform. Everyone should understand what is this RPM. So suppose you joined as a developer, somebody asks you in the company, install the Python. Then you need to understand how to download this Python from internet, how to install it. Any software we can install later after installation. To understand how to install the software after installation, you need to understand RPM. How to install the packages, how to verify the packages, how to query the packages, how to upgrade the packages, how to query the package for a file. Backup and restore. So how to take the backup of operating system, how to restore the files, what is the tar format. In Windows we have zip format, rar format, zip and rar files. In Unix or Linux we have tar, CPA. Tar files, CPA files, these are called compressor format. So generally while taking the backup, after taking the backup, you have to compress it. Why do you want to compress? To store more data in the tape. So all these topics comes under standalone. What is the meaning of standalone? Which is not in the network. My laptop is standalone. My desktop is standalone. Which is not in the network. One system is enough. One system is enough for all these topics. After completion of this, we are going to start networking. For networking, we require minimum two systems, either two virtual machines or two laptops. Generally, nowadays, nobody is purchasing two laptops to desktops. So we can use two virtual machines, two VMs. For example, here I installed these many VMs. So we require minimum two VMs. One we are going to set up as a server. The other one we are going to set up as a client. Nowadays, no one using physical servers. All are virtual servers. All are the virtual machines. What is the advantage of virtual machines? What type of software we are using to virtualize the hardware? We'll discuss later while installation of operating system. So networking, we are going to discuss what is IP address, what are the types of IP address, what is public IP, what is private IP, how to configure IP address. After that, we'll try to discuss about FTP file transfer protocol. What is FTP? FTP is a file server where we can share the files under heterogeneous environment. The meaning of heterogeneous, Windows to Unix, Unix to Windows. Homogeneous means both are Microsoft family. Server is Windows, client also Windows. That is called homogeneous. Server is Unix, client also Unix. That is also called homogeneous. Heterogeneous means servers always Unix, clients always Windows. Your laptop is Windows, desktop is Windows. You are uploading the resume to the Naukri.com. What is Naukri.com? Nothing but is a FTP server. Naukri.com is nothing but is FTP server. We can upload, we can download. Like Google Drive. Google Drive also one of the FTP server where you can upload your folders or files or data to the Google Drive because it's nothing but a FTP server. So where we are uploading the files, downloading the files, nothing but all those are FTP servers. So how to set up this FTP server? What are the security files? How to upload the files? How to download the files? All this stuff we'll discuss in FTP. NFS network file system. So we discussed what is FTP. FTP commonly used for upload the files and download the files. What is the problem here? Duplication of data. Data duplication, data redundancy. When I upload the resume from my laptop to Naukri, where Naukri is FTP server, what are the resume copy in my laptop? After uploading the same copy in Naukri.com FTP server. If you download the files from FTP server, where the data is after downloading in your laptop, that is called duplication of data. Data redundancy, wastage of storage, wastage of disk space. To avoid that, they develop NFS. The best example for NFS, data is centralized. Without downloading, we can access the data. For example, book my show. To book the ticket, are you downloading? No. Railway reservations, airlines reservations, bus reservations, all these are centralized. Gmail.com, Yahoo.com. Without downloading, we are able to see the mails. There is nothing but NFS server where data is centralized. but FTP is heterogeneous, NFS is homogeneous. It works only for Unix to Unix. So Microsoft, they have a service called DFS. DFS stands Distributed File System. DFS stands Distributed File System. But supports only Windows family. DFS supports only Windows family. NFS supports only Unix family. Next, DNS, domain naming service. Suppose I want to communicate any one of you. How do you communicate? I need your mobile number. Similarly, you want to communicate any server, LAN or a WAN, we need a IP address. What is the IP address of yahoo.com? 202.141.21.5. What is the IP address of gmail.com? 117.45.78.43. This is the IP address of gmail.com. But are you going to give the IP address in the browser? No. We're just giving www.yahoo.com, www.gmail.com. That is called DNS. Without knowing the IP address of any server on internet, by just giving the domain name or a host name, we are able to access any server on internet. That is because of DNS, domain naming service. It is very, very important to work as a Linux administrator or cloud admin or DevOps engineer. What is this DNS? What is this name resolution? Suppose if you install the Truecaller is nothing but your DNS. If somebody unknown person is calling you, immediately they'll give the name of the number. If I install Truecaller, that is called DNS. So IP address to host name to IP address. So DNS, we have primary DNS, secondary DNS, forwarders DNS, caching DNS, IP-based DNS, name-based DNS, port-based DNS, round-trip DNS. All this stuff we'll discuss in the DNS. DHCP, Dynamic Host Control or Configuration Protocol. Basically, IP addresses are two types: static IP, dynamic IP. There are two types of IP addresses: static and dynamic. Where we use static IP, where we use dynamic IP. What's the problem with the static IP address? Why we have to use dynamic IP address? Suppose if you take internet connection for your laptop or desktop, we are not going to configure any IP address for your laptop. The IP address automatically from your ISP provider. Once you take internet connection, we get one IP address from ISP provider. How to check that? Type my IP address. This is the IP address provided by your ISP provider. Are you going to configure this IP address? No, it automatically from ISP. That is called DHCP server. If I configure DHCP server, the DHCP server provide IP addresses to the DHCP clients. Your laptop is a DHCP client. My laptop is a DHCP client. So whenever you take internet connection, we'll get one IP address. That IP address from DHCP server. That means your laptop is a DHCP client. That is called as a dynamic IP. Samba. Samba is a file server like NFS, like FTP. FTP, NFS, Samba, all are file servers. Where we use FTP, where we use NFS, where we use Samba. Samba is heterogeneous. FTP also heterogeneous. NFS is homogeneous. Only Unix family. So where we use NFS only if you have only Unix servers, no Windows machines, all are Unix, then we go for NFS. You have heterogeneous, some are Windows servers, some are Unix servers, then we go for Samba. There are so many other differences we'll discuss later. RAID. RAID is very, very important. Redundant array of inexpensive disks or independent disks. Redundancy means duplication. Redundancy means duplication. Suppose I purchase one server. I purchase one server with 20 lakhs higher-end server, where I have 128 GB RAM, 64 processors. Even if you invest 20 lakhs for this 30 lakhs, but you will get hard disk only one hard disk with maximum 500 GB. One hard disk with maximum 500 GB. In this internal hard disk, we are going to install only operating system. This internal hard disk only for OS. Internal hard disk only for operating system. Then where you are going to keep the database? For database, you have to go for storage. You have a separate storage box. We call it the SAN storage, NAS storage, network attached storage, storage area network. We'll discuss later what are these storages, how it works. Database we are going to install here. Operations we are going to install the internal hard disk. So what happens if this hard disk crash? My entire server is down. My application is down. That's why we are going to take two hard disks. We'll take the server with two hard disks. In both the disks, we are going to configure RAID. If I configure RAID on both the hard disks, when you install the operating system, the operating system is going to install parallelly in both the hard disks. The OS is going to install parallelly in both the hard disks. If I take Windows, at the time of installation, I am getting the C drive. If I get the C drive, the C drive going to create in both the disks. Here also we have C drive, here also we have C drive. If I get a D drive during installation, it is going to create both the disks. That is called mirroring. This is called as a mirroring. What is the meaning of mirroring? Duplication of data. Whatever data we have in the one hard disk, same data will be duplicated in the another hard disk. So what is the advantage of RAID? If one disk fail, even one disk fail also, my application never goes down. So here we have a availability, high availability and high availability. So this is not a high availability. Why? Because there might be chances of two hard disk fail. There might be chances of two hard disk fail. Then my application is down. So it is not a high availability, it's only availability. For high availability, again I'll add another hard disk. But there might be chances of three hard disks fail. That is not a high availability, only availability. Even though, for example, we have two hard disks, one disk failed, what is the admin job? Replace the failed hard disk with a new hard disk. replace the failed hard disk with the new hard disk. So my application is still running, no downtime. Tomorrow motherboard fail. There is a high availability, only availability. Add two motherboards. Network card failed. Add two network cards. SMPS failed. Add two SMPS. CPU failed. Add more than one CPU. So for high availability, we have to add more number of resources. For every hardware, we need a backup. Hard disk, we have a backup. Network card, we have a backup. Processor, we have a backup. RAM, we have a backup. Motherboard, we have a backup. All these servers are multi-system boards. The meaning of multi-system boards, these servers runs with multiple motherboards. Each motherboard having multiple CPUs. More than one motherboard, more than one SMPS, more than one network card. Now can I call this now high availability? I have hard disk backup, network card backup, motherboard backup, processor backup, SMPS backup. Can I say that is a high availability? No. Due to some earthquake or floods, my server crash. Where is high availability? It is just a availability. For high availability, we have to configure cluster. A cluster nothing but group of servers. So all this stuff we'll discuss later. So tomorrow we'll see the installation part. How to install the Linux. So who are going to continue the classes? You people share your mail IDs. I'll send the links, softwares. Download it before coming to my class tomorrow. Okay, fine. So who are going to paid or who are going to continue the classes? Share your mail IDs in the chat. I'll send the softwares link. You can download it. Tomorrow we'll see the installation part. Okay. So I'll share the software. What about the remaining? You are not going to continue classes from tomorrow. So download the software while coming to the class. Before the class, we'll see the installation part. And whoever paid, send the test message to my mail ID. I'll send the soft copy. So send the mail, test mail to this mail ID and send the soft copy. Only for paid students. So this is the PDF. I'll share to you people. Every command, one by one, step by step, will be there. It is only the basic commands, Linux fundamentals, not admin classes. For admin, I'll share you separately. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow. We are not paid, take the admission. From Monday onwards, we are going to change the link. Any questions?
So self-scripting and other things also is part of this course. Right?
Yeah, part of this course.
So will you cover some real-time scripts?
See, I told you we designed both the courses. One is Linux administration, the other one is shell scripting. If we can join both, it is I think 9,000. Individual is 5,000. So if we join for like developer, for shell scripting, which will be covered AWS, not entire AWS. Some topics on AWS, some topics on Linux. It will be more focused on the basics and shell scripting. It is a developer job. For admin, we will be focused on Linux administration more focus on Linux administration with troubleshooting. So I don't know which course you're going to join.
No, sir. I need to join both. My concern is that will you share some real-time scripts which you are using?
Yeah. Scripting will be covered. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Same time.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I have a question. So how long the class? Is it 1 hour class or more than 1 hour?
It's a 1 hour class.
And it's from Monday to Friday, right?
Monday to Friday.
And I have one more question. I am basically focusing on cybersecurity. So in
Okay.
some area, I know we need the Linux. So is it going to helpful for the full course or I need partial?
Better to take the full course because it's a cybersecurity. You need to understand the DNS concept, DHCP concept, and the file servers.
Mm-hmm.
So better you take full course.
So basically, so I need to know all of those, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Same time.